And what's up, everybody? Back again, George, Warp Charge Gaming. I'm here with James, and it's episode 100. And
100.
we can remember that. I know it's Thursday because I just don't forget about our awesome talk show. But otherwise, I really don't know what day it is, or hardly what month it is, or anything. Everything's all weird, man.
Oh, dude, my whole life is just not the same.
Yeah, I
I just don't know what else to say.
Kevin immediately jumped into the chat and said he wanted to slap some cheeks. I think it was some Matt Simon cheeks there. It went by so fast I couldn't catch it. I want to clap Simon's cheeks. I need a rematch, Kevin Leonard says.
Yeah. Kevin Leonard brought out his white scars with the new Primaris Transport Hotness, and the Necrons prevailed at the last turn.
Oh, really? So that's another time I've heard of Matt being on a Slaughterfest with his Necron list.
Oh, he's definitely on a winning streak with that list. It's just he's played it enough and has learned power armor. And shoots the shit out of fucking Marines, bro.
Well, that's exciting. That's exciting. I haven't played. We skipped last week for our friends that may be disappointed. Hopefully somebody's a little sad we skipped last week, James. But we did.
I know I was sad just to hang out, even though I had nothing to talk about.
Yeah, I was definitely feeling that too. But I was feeling the burn, going into getting ready for the first Friday of May, the last couple, the very first Friday of April and now May, we've used the Warp Charge Gaming studio to be commissioned to run my DJ crews and friends Party Liberation Fronts first Friday kind of pyro circus or cyber circus. That's something we've always done here in Richmond, Virginia, out in front of Gallery 5, an old firehouse, or now art gallery museum here in Richmond. And out in front of the building in the streets, we close down the streets and have a big fire show. What's up, Chris? How you doing, man?
What up?
Welcome.
Yo.
We're just starting to bullshit and just talking about how we, missed last week. It's episode 100, and James and I just getting on to the start of the show. Like, man, I really don't know what we're going to necessarily talk about. And that's been kind of the theme these last few weeks, as we're deep into the kind of lockdown and everybody kind of being safe. And I don't know, our local game stores, whether you like it or not, are down with being locked in or not. A lot of the game stores everywhere are shut down, right? Mm-hmm. So I know Battlegrounds has been that way, but I've been going in there. My buddies all been being safe, taking care of themselves, and I've been going in there and checking out what they've been doing behind closed doors, and it's really exciting. I cannot wait till they do open back up to the public and people get to see the kind of makeover that's gone on inside. Totally new paint jobs, wallpaper. They got the I don't know if you guys got to see the cool curtains that are around my personal stream table. That kind of hides everything that's underneath. They've curtained all the tables in the store now. I think they posted a picture of that, actually.
They did. They posted a picture near the stream area, and I just seeing the new coat of paint, like the dark black or whatever they put up on the wall. That I wasn't used to seeing. Like, it looks much cleaner. Like, it looks great.
It's really classy feeling in there, and it kind of like feels more like a party vibe, or less like a retail store, and more like you're in a cool clubhouse kind of feeling, So super excited to get back up in there. I do know that, coming damn near 60 days or some shit in the house here, and been getting a lot of projects done, including what we did last week with our collaboration with, Party Liberation Front using the Warp Charge Gaming stream rig, getting ready to close out a few more of these projects that have been stacking up for a long time, and then look forward to taking the rig back into Battlegrounds, and whether they're open or not, kind of playing it safe with people I know that have been taking care of themselves, whatever, maybe take people's temperature and shit, and get them in there playing some games. We're going to go live again with some fucking tabletop here before too long. I'm excited.
That's awesome.
By the end of the month,
I like to hear that.
Yeah, we need to. I'm excited for it. I'm ready to go in there every day like I used to. I've been coming up into the studio here at the house every day, but I'm ready to get back to the shop and get these things filmed, man. I played a game in Infinity this past week. That was the only tabletop I'd done in a long while. And I hadn't played Infinity in a long, hot sec. It was a great time, as always. But felt good to see my old friend, and he's the War Corps here in Corvus Belli Infinity Land, unlike Warhammer 40K or Games Workshop. And I say this even though friends that are watching probably know what we're already talking about. But for those that might be tuning in for the first time, we're talking about tabletop wargaming. The Corvus Belli Infinity and a lot of other different gaming companies do this, is their tournament scene, their competitive scene, they nominate or like basically dub someone who applies to be their local leader or the tournament organizer, right? We become tournament organizers in the independent tournament circuit, the ITC, by kind of applying, getting, and then making ITC official events by following the guidelines of what they require. But there's those independent, usually that's something that we had to do as a community, while oftentimes the designer of the games will provide that outlet. And in Infinity and in Corvus Belli, they call it the War Corps. And locally here in Richmond, Virginia, there's an awesome War Corps who's been doing it for a long time. That's Brad Jones, and he's basically my Infinity guru. He's who taught me how to play, and has played many, many games with me now. Love playing him. The games are always close. He always does some really intelligent mind laying. It's fun to play people that have who use nuanced tactics of the game that aren't necessarily. It takes finesse and more know-how to be good at it. And oftentimes, like Brad will react not with shooting you in the face or dodging, but putting down a mine at his feet. So he's like, oh, you're going to run up and shoot me? That's cool, I'll just put a mine down. Knowing that even if he dies, your next actions, he's going to cause you more trouble with the fact that a mine's going to blow up in your face no matter what, than that shot that he's going to have. And sometimes a mine blowing up at your feet actually has better modifiers than a face-to-face gunshot. So pretty cool, how you can play with mines in that game, and just in general different nuanced factors of the game that you can exploit and kind of throw your opponent off guard. I found myself to be I'm getting very good at killing in that game, and executing a plan of killing stuff. But also, when I go against Brad, I may be having an easier time than I think, and almost mistraining, because he's setting himself up with an army that he doesn't care if models die. It's so about executing an overall objective and being in a positional place and winning the game as a whole, and less so on winning the dogfights in between model to model. That maybe
more expendable.
Yeah, so maybe I'm thinking that, oh, I'm getting really good at killing, but I actually am just facing an opponent with really expendable models and he continues to win often even when I kill shit. I'll have the upper hand in the killing side of things, but in the end of the game he usually pulls out the better maneuvers. I'm like, damn it, But that's a part of the greatness of the game,
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned laying the mines kind of as alternative tactics. I feel like even in most games, it's so much easier to appreciate the oddball kind of list, regardless of, whether or not it's necessarily the top of the tournament. But when someone can do well, for example, the Warp Charge Major most recently, where the Necron player went 4-0 against Iron Hands or whatever.
Right.
It's dude, oh, that's awesome. What?
I was not expecting that, man. That was so cool at the Major, how unlike at the very first Major we had Tau as the top, everything. They were just totally, it was just
they
okay.
just swept top 3.
Yeah, but this time I was so blown away that with the Chaos player, with all the Lords of Skulls, the Tyrannid player that went 5-0, Larry Oliver, who we had an interview with on the channel, and that was crazy. And then the Necron player going back to back to back against the Iron Hands like that. It was so wild.
Pre-nerf.
Yeah, so wild. Then it was just man, the meta was at such a great. I feel like we're in a cool melting pot space. They went from there's this huge adrenaline rush to the ITC season for 2020. Here's the Major to kick it off, going into Adepticon, to Adepticon getting canceled, to no FAQ. And I feel like we're in this pot right now of where's our FAQ? This isn't the usual. Releases are staggered. We haven't been able to get to our game store and get our products. GW hasn't been shipping out, but now they are. So it's we're in this weird where are we in our game? Where's our Forge World indexes being redone?
Just today they announced more openings. In more countries, because up until recently it had been only limited to mostly Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems like we're starting to come back to a certain sort of normalcy. There's also been, things happening. There's been people been making acquaintances, and there's been TTS tournaments happening and whatnot. It hasn't been as front and center or as relevant as usual, or.
I have seen literally in chats people do recon on opponents in their TTS leagues by like trying to get information from strangers on Facebook about like their opponents' lists. Yeah. Which is just like mind blowing to me. I'm just like, I don't mean that in like necessarily a negative way, but like, like the hobby finds a way. Mm-hmm. This is like Jurassic Park, like it does it.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. I'm seeing the chat here. Mark Roble says he's going to get some cheeks clapped out there. He just doesn't know if it's going to be his or Simon's kind of thing. Nice. Glad to see some of that.
I believe I'm playing Connor this upcoming Sunday.
Okay. I have, ever since like we went on our big rampage, Chris, you and I played like 3-4 games in a row, and I played just a bunch of people all at once for a couple weeks there in our channel. We loaded up with like 15 videos of Tabletop Simulator, and then for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, has been silent on the Warp Charge front. Yeah,
I got 3 more games after our spurt of games. And really only 2, because one of them was like one of those dark side of the internet stories where I was like, I just wasted 3 hours of my day.
Yeah, that son of a gun.
But like that's gonna happen sometimes. I mean, when you play with strangers on the internet, sometimes bad things happen.
Yeah, it can be a beautiful thing or it can be an unfortunate thing. Yeah.
That being said, I had some great games. I mean, John, who I think you played, maybe you played John. He plays a few armies.
Well, I know Paul Seal. You played Paul, right?
I also played Paul. Paul, I had a great game with. He pulled away the win, but like, I was testing out the Steeler Rush. I played against new orcs, which was cool. I got to see new Gazgul in action, who I hadn't got to play against yet, and he is interesting. I like him. I mean, like if your opponent has kind of like a skeleton backfield, if you teleport him in there just to harass objectives, he is difficult to deal with, and he is definitely a prevalent factor in your game.
I don't see how he can't be fun to play, man. Like he just said that no matter what, he's a threat, and that means he's fun. It's like if your opponent has to interact with something you're playing with, you get to have that like, I'm gonna get you,
Yeah.
And they have to say, all right, I gotta fight you, not If you're saying I'm gonna get you and then you just whittle out, that sucks.
The orc player that I played against, which was John, he's the Sisters player locally out here. He plays a few armies though. He literally deep struck Gazgul into like a little spot off to the right of my deployment zone, and then dejumped Makari to give him the feel no pain.
Yep.
And basically just walked him through one of my objectives very, very slowly, but like he was sitting there like vice gripping zone throws to death. I mean, I was making a ton of involves, but like it basically took a quarter of the map and was like, yep, this is just fodder to keep Gazgul busy. And I was like, you know what? I like it. It's like definitely rings true to like the bestial ferocity that Gazgul should be,
Yeah, hell yeah. Yo, it's nice. I was just thinking about Gazgul, the Thunderwolf Cav. I was thinking about how I would go in there and put all his pain down, but then he wouldn't die. But at least they have the mortal wounds in the charge phase now.
Yes, which is a different phase. Right. I mean, technically it's one of 4 phases.
Yep, so that does help out a little bit of putting a little more damage into Gazgul. I could double wound him in that particular instance.
I actually contemplated that because like a lot of my stuff in list recently, because the Tyranid +1 to wound power is High Fleet Behemoth. There's a Behemoth specific stratagem where monsters can do it on a 2-up, but everything else does it on a 6-up for every. It's kind of like your charge thing where every model you get within an inch does a mortal wound, but it does it on 2-ups for monstrous creatures instead. It's a good strat, but once again on a 6-up, like unless you have 20 Gene Stealers charging, it's not amazing. But
yeah, it got me. I mean, I was just now. My mind started going through the other kind of things that I know of that are break phase. Like for instance, the Necrons have the Catan powers. There's Noise Marines. There's the Hysterical Frenzy of fighting in the Psychic phase for Slaanesh. Just ways to get those wounds across, and those you almost have to, if Gazgul becomes a real threat, where he's something you have to be able to have solutions for in your army.
I think, I think just mentioning the fight in the psychic phase, though, I think that just counts towards psychic phase. I could be wrong.
That's what I mean. Like that would be wounds in the psychic phase.
Yeah.
Even though, yeah, that could be smites or whatever. If you're gonna, that's one way or the other. You're wounding them in the psychic phase, you know.
Absolutely.
But still, that's another mechanic, I suppose. But I wonder how relevant it might start to be to include things that can wound outside the normal. Like you're like, okay, I have plenty that wounds in the shooting phase. I have plenty that wounds in the fight phase. What can I do to wound in the movement phase, the charge phase? You know,
you're totally right. I mean, especially when you look at how binary some armies are. Like you look at Tau, whose wound output is like almost exclusively shooting phase or Overwatch.
Right.
You know, like it's gonna become, especially if that's a mechanic that becomes more prevalent. Yeah. I think you're gonna have to see people diversify their DPS, because a lot of the times, I mean, it's kind of like Roman Empire, like cavalry tactics. When you like lean into one tactic to the extreme, it usually is kind of effective because people aren't ready to deal with it. But then obviously you're a less balanced force, which is going to cause your own issues.
I really like it because it's kind of like the 40k hero hammer that we've been missing, that you get in, say, Sigmar, where you're the big guys. Yes, they can be shot, but no, you can't just wipe them, you know?
Yeah.
And it's that in-between of the under 10 wound character and the Primarch, you know, and not necessarily giving them feel no pains or 2+ saves out the yang, just making a certain wound threshold is a solution to letting these heroes be on the table. And it'd be cool if the game goes and, you know, that kind of evolution where you have to think of outside the standard wounding, and where Tau would have, I like the idea of them being disadvantaged and not having as much versatility, you know, to wound outside of other phases.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's cool. That, you know, the idea that you couldn't die in Overwatch, just that alone is a powerful mechanic versus Tau.
Certainly.
You know?
And I mean, they've already been seeing a lot of like deny Overwatch and stuff like that. I mean, that's become much more prevalent, but like, that being said, you know, it's just one different way to tweak. It's one more way to have cheat codes, you know, it's one more way to like break and push the boundaries of the rules, which I think it's good when executed right. I mean, obviously, you know, we don't want another Iron Hands top meta or another 10 out of 10 top list at a major being Imperial Knights. No one wants to see any of that nonsense.
Which is that's a good roundabout, and the fact that we don't really even get to have that kind of thing right now because there's not events happening and there's no thing, you know, is there things that are ready to be used and abused that were just preparing itself to show its ugly head and we haven't got to see it yet?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, even you know, Death Watch have had their rules leaked from the White Dwarf or whatever. I mean, they're gonna be in White Dwarf, but people got a hold of the White Dwarf early. They also, like Space Wolves, have the un-FAQ'd version of the Dreadnought stratagem. Mm-hmm. So like we're seeing questions people already want answered, and we had basically a full tournament quarter where, because of, you know, current events, like we're all just kind of sitting in limbo going, oh my God, what's going to happen now that stuff's getting back to normal? Like, give me answers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we had a tournament on the schedule for this very weekend. We would usually be talking about that. You know, I can't believe we got Season 3. I was just thinking about that today as I saw that reminder on Facebook. I was like, yeah, we kicked off Season 3 of our tournament schedule. We did an entire 2 seasons last year. Every 6 months we did 5 to 6 tournaments that gave players a chance to go for a grand prize of the tournament league. That was all ITC official, and we had scheduled 25 dates. Everything was already pre-done in Facebook. All the events were, and that's 25 dates between January and fucking June, dude. We was ready to roll. Sad times. But it's gonna be okay. We're gonna play games again on a big level, and I can't wait.
You sounded so unsure.
I know. It's because I don't know when it's gonna happen, James. I don't know when.
Oh man,
I missed the tournaments though. It was also like, you know, it's part of the freaking what kept the Warp Charge engine running. You know, we need that fuel of you know, building the big events and helping you know, fill the pockets. You know,
content.
Yeah, you need the content. You need all this stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, there was a lot of events that aren't happening. There's going to be a lot of ways that we have to, you know, figure out how to be creative to fill those voids. And something I was talking about with the homies today, and just I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's some big projects I've been trying to knock out before moving back into Battlegrounds. And one of them being that I'm excited for it, and kind of as a thing that I actually have time to do because I'm not going to a tournament this weekend, is to make a like how to like understanding army building from the aspect of detachments, keywords. These are all the terminologies that like people, when you're first learning the game, I don't think are instilled enough, because by understanding these fundamentals, it really breaks down how the game operates. And for instance, keywords, like really understanding how keywords work, sub-factions, detachments, what a battlefield role is in a force organization slot, and what does it mean to be battle forged, and understanding your 3 detachment limit. That's how, like, people don't know what to buy. Well, if you start understanding how to fill up detachments, then you start to know what you're missing. Like, I need a 3rd troop slot or whatever,
You're so correct, and actually it's amusing you mentioned this, because literally within the last 3 or 4 days, somebody on the Tyranid forum was like, hey, I want to run a list with these models, and it was a 2,000 point list with 1 HQ, and I was like, there's no detachment structure here. You're missing such a core fundamental part of how to approach the game, that someone, which in this case was me, tooting my own horn, had to sit down and be like, all right, this is where you want to start. Download Battlescribe.
Yep.
You'll see 16 detachments. You don't even need the rulebook really.
Dude, totally. It's like that every time. Apparently too, on the Warhammer community site, I didn't check it out myself, but I saw somebody post that the core easy to play rules have been posted on the FAQ site. So to easily be able to distribute the fundamental how to plays, that's just for free now on the community page. But dude, I don't even know if that part's in there. The breakdown of how to build your army based on detachments and shit. And it is so. And what's so funny is I always talk. One, if anybody at the game store ever asked George how to play 40K or do you have time to, I would always start by asking, do you know what a detachment is? Do you know what this shit is? You don't? All right, well, we're not playing the game then. I don't care to show you what the fuck. I'll show you the baseline profile of a model. Here's your data sheet. But that's not going to get you playing this game. If you want, if you want to play this game, then you need to understand how to build an army, and that's these pages right here, So yeah, I want to make a video of it. And then the cool thing is, as soon as you understand detachments and battlefield roles and how to build an army with a 3 detachment limit and your sub factions and how keywords interact, thus unlocking how characters work and relics and all that shit, then you can show them Battlescribe. And you're like, look how easy it is when you have this beautiful calculator for you. And I think that really those 2 lessons paired together, they're like, okay, I get it now. I know how to go make armies. And I think that, because really what drives me to play a game, or where I get kind of tired of playing, I'll get really excited to play 40K and then I'll get kind of burnt out for a moment, is I get extremely curious of how a design that I put together in my mind is built. I want to build that list and play it. I want to see how it plays out. And once you've seen it play out numerous times, you get tired of that. You're no longer curious. You're no longer inspired, and you have to build kind of a new list, new concept, new army to care and have more fun. Some people can play the same shit over and over and over again, but a lot of times that's relevant to having different opponents to play against.
Absolutely.
I'm all about playing the same list on repeat, but that's when you're going to a major and you're playing 9 rounds against fucking 9 different people, total strangers. That's a whole different game than playing your same 2 buddies over and over again with the same list,
I mean, on that sort of note, there's been tons of lists that I wanted to refine and improve upon, but especially recently where you just have time to just sit on Battlescribe and be I can, and this is obviously true for everybody, I can list build so much faster than I can play games. And I'll have all right, I kind of want to do this concept, and I'll have 5 different versions of it. And I'll play test 1, and I'm like, that didn't work quite the way I wanted. I want to try this version instead. By the time I actually get to playing that next game, I'm already I want to try this list instead.
Yeah. That's and that's where I've found where it used to be when I had more funds, more available money to spend towards like investing in a new army. I'm very like ADD or OCD or whatever about like, okay, I've done that, I want to try something else, I'm getting very curious and I want to try a new army. And I went through a whole bunch of armies and tried a bunch of stuff.
A whole bunch.
I did, really. I ended up selling more armies than most people ever own in their lives. But
I think you ended up selling like
7 or 8
easily
armies.
twice as many armies as most people own in their life.
Yeah, and I'm talking like major, like 10 to 12,000 point armies.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on it, guys, and that's because I fucking love it, right? Passion. But that same passion has became this, and I was willing to sell those armies to keep this machine driven, riding. But the main deal, what I've done now, in order to not have to continue to buy a new army to have fun, is I just play more games. Particularly even skirmish games, Kill Team is an excellent way to be able to scratch that itch of I want more, I want to try something, without fucking killing yourself with what it costs to build a 40k army, let alone the time and energy and to get it fully painted. Whether that's Warcry, Kill Team, Infinity, skirmish games are excellent at being able to try a whole bunch of different factions and have a lot of different play style mechanics without necessarily dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars into our different armies.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
You know what I'm talking about. Hundreds, yes, and thousands, yes. Not hundreds.
Friggin'. I mean, on that kind of note, like that chasing that itch, I mean, only topically related / inserting my own kind of spiel, friggin'. I finally beat the core game of Blackstone Fortress. That was kind of a nice little side game. That happened during the hiatus.
Hey, Chris.
What's up?
What's in the envelope, bro?
Yeah, what's in the envelope?
It's like, all right.
Spoiler alerts.
There's some spoilers here. Alert. Anyone playing Blackstone Fortress.
Which
don't
is
hate me too
nobody.
much.
Which is nobody.
There's like 5 of us. But it's a
okay,
very
George?
kind of like Christopher Columbus kind of like chasing that fountain of youth kind of relic. It definitely is the kind of relic that would reward further play into the new expansions of Blackstone Fortress. So it's an item, and amusingly enough, the same. All of the relics in our entire game have ended up on one character. Like literally, like there's like 5 like game-ish breaking relics have all ended up on one character by pure chance.
What a hog! Does he get him by like random, or is he...
It's like literally determined usually by like, it depends on the mission, but it's like who gets the killing blow on this, or who opens the core on this, and every single time it's like this character was always the best option in like every situation because of how stuff was unfolding.
And which character was that for you?
That is Pious Born, which is the female Inquisition model, I guess. It's like the one with the flamethrower chainsword thing.
I'll pull up her picture. That flamer is badass, if I recall.
It's one of the coolest models in Blackstone Fortress. And it's definitely, I mean, this character was running around with a Thunderhammer and like this crazy like relic cloak that almost makes it immortal, and a crazy death laser gun. It's an amazing sculpt, and this particular character ended up just like being the undisputed MVP of our campaign.
This Pious Born, that's a lady?
That is a female model, actually. It doesn't necessarily look like it outwardly, but yes, it is a female model.
Wow. Did she do some vindicating?
Yeah, actually, it's one of the few characters that has like ignore cover on all of its weapons because it's a flamer, which is really, really good in Blackstone Fortress.
Right.
And yeah, it was awesome. We have the next expansion ready to go, locked and loaded, and they actually just teased today some more fluff, which wasn't really anything new, but for the Zote that is coming out for Blackstone Fortress, the Archivist, that I'm still super hyped for. And now that Games Workshop is kind of like rolling open up, I am going to get at least one of those. And if the rules for 40k are decent, who knows? Maybe I'll have more than one.
Now, the minds at home might want to know, Chris, but like I know that I have seen on the different hobby networks on Facebook and whatnot. A lot of different gamers are talking about trying to, in these trying times, being stuck at home, trying to get their significant others into playing tabletop games where they hadn't necessarily ever played before, right? And it's constantly a curiosity, and I've seen many different folks where their significant others have no shits, care not at all. Some even are shun the fact that people are such nerds, right?
I've literally seen at Dragonfire Games in Virginia, there was one dude, awesome opponent, but his girlfriend came in and I happened to beat him, and like she was like, "Did you win?" And he was like, "No," and she was like, "Good. I hate this game."
Oh my god!
I was just like, "My God, like that's so mean."
Yeah. See, there's James Sheets out there. See, some people. We got some comments. I was thinking of James Sheets' wife just right now. She's always like, "Nerds." Yeah, gamer hater, right? James's wife always loves to call you a nerd whenever you're hanging out. And so, imagine James Sheets or someone else that's, wife is a gamer hater. In Blackstone Fortress, is that the ticket, man? Is that how we get our ladies into playing?
I don't recommend using it as a gateway drug necessarily, and not because it's not a decent game. But especially the last mission, I mentioned this in our 40K chat. If every single mission was half as good as the last mission for the core game of Blackstone Fortress, the game would be a home run at every single inning, man. Like it's great. That last mission was exciting, nail biting. Like one of my characters literally died in like the very early parts of the game, and just by like a freak accident, like managed to be like, oh, but he was alive, hiding under some rubble, like basically incapacitated. And only because we happen to take a bunch of like healing packs on one character, the MVP with the flamethrower, managed to heal me back up and get me back in the game.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Matt Hole makes a good point. Have kids, they're easier to convince.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, the only issue with Blackstone Fortress being bad as a gateway game for significant others is that, and this is even something that my SO mentioned, when I sat down to like play the game for the first time, the rules, and I've mentioned this before, they're not written well. They're not bad rules. They're just written really clunky and difficult to understand.
Yeah.
I recommend you watch a video of people playing the game before you sit down for that one.
Man, honestly, if I was to make a recommendation for my favorite intro level tabletop right now in my repertoire, is gonna be Warcry, man. Like, especially comparatively to Kill Team in the 40K universe, I would say that Warcry is more gender neutral with the model selection. There's just a lot more that kind of appeal to, I'd say, just in general, versus just like kind of dudes in armor and shit,
Dude, those new models they teased during the Adepticon teases for Warcry specifically, and they were like female-ish looking models. Those things look amazing.
Yeah, it's such a fun game, so easy to play, pick up. It has a nice like narrative random mechanic to it.
There's flesh hounds now.
Oh man, it's as far as the models you get to use. I did get to, I was gonna play the other day and made a corn list. I'm excited to run, but definitely like has some flesh hounds, and it's just so much cooler, the fact that you can run those like dogs and the juggernauts and the flyy big guys. You can pretty much have like Demon Prince level models in that game. You don't get very many of them, but it is wild to have like something that strong in that skirmish style.
Got a question in the chat about the Warp Charge Major. What was the Necron list that went 4-0 against Iron Hands?
I guess I could pull it up.
I don't remember the exact details, but I can tell you, Luke, the Necron player himself, after every game, looked like he went through like a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Like he was literally like riding that dragon, like, oh my god, I can't believe it happened again.
Yeah. Just for awesome sauce, as we go, let's keep hanging out, but I'll see if I can pull it up and bring it on screen. We can go over it together. I think a lot of it, though, was how strong of a player he was. Just like Larry Oliver with the Tyranids. It was totally... Dude. He was a good player. And, the Necrons, they got those big D6 weapons. D6 shots, D6 damage, and sometimes you just hit the gold, Not
to take away from Larry either, the Tyranid player who did so well, but people, even his own friends, have mentioned on social media, he managed to dodge some pretty nasty matchups. Like,
right.
I mean, his top game was versus the other top Xenos player, which was rocking Eldar, and that was almost kind of a disappointment, you know, like.
Yeah, well, that was awesome too, though, because that list was sick. Total meta breaker. Another fun thing about the major, that frickin' a Yandon basically, where it was the triple
Wraith
Lords, triple Wraith Seers, and then the Talos as the big meat stick in the front.
It was a cool list.
Yeah,
I mean, and
loved
you know, that's even what you mentioned, like with the Infinity and the landmines. Like those are the lists that people get excited about at tournaments. Like, I mean, you know, like if it's Iron Hand season, you show up with Iron Hands. Like if you win, yeah, good for you. Like I'm not taking away from the fact you're a good player, but like it's harder to do well with those. Well, people suppose it's harder to do well with those like oddball combinations. I mean, sometimes maybe people are just onto something ahead of the curve, but I don't know.
Well, you know what also is awesome, dude, is that the not only was this Necron player just had a good humble heart and everything, but he freaking got a rule of cool. I mean, he was playing Necron, so he already deserved it. But he also not only did he kick ass with him, but he had like a great display board, great theme. I'm loving how awesome it was to have him. Is Kyle Massey, I think his name was. Here we are. I got his list. View. All right, let's see if I can be so clever to show it on screen with some tech here.
Oh me, oh my.
Yeah.
On screen, you say.
I'm going to use a special app. Screen mirroring. Buttons. Here it comes for friends at home. Oh, I'm doing it. Oh my gosh. Talent. Oh wait, you don't see it yet. There you go. All right, I have successfully put the iPad on the screen. Okay, it's great. Okay, we're looking at it. Okay, so this is Kyle Massey's list. I think it was 4 out of 5 wins, mostly against Iron Hands. Every 4 games in a row. The 4th game he lost. I don't know, it was crazy. We did a Spearhead detachment. He was running the Nihilek Dynasty. He had a Lord with the Veil of Darkness and a Resurrection Orb and a War Scythe. Catan Shard the Deceiver with Antimatter Meteor, Transdimensional Thunderbolt. And so we got a Catan, we got a Lord, we got 6 Destroyers with Gauss Cannon, 3 Doomsday Arcs, no obvious. So that's a 1 detachment. Then we're going to go into another Spearhead that is the Lord and 3 Tesseract Arcs. Damn, I didn't know he was running that. So 3 Tesseract Arcs and 3 Doomsday Arcs. That's wild.
All of the arcs.
So that's what it was. It was just and then here's another 6 Destroyers. So that's 12 Destroyers. 2 units of 6. And fucking 3 fucking Tesseracts with double gauze. 3 Doomsdays. That's pretty nasty, dude. A bunch of just heavy vehicles. Really rocking the, not the reanimation orbs, but the
Quantum shielding.
Quantum shielding. He was really rocking that mechanic.
Yeah, it's a really good mechanic. Especially, like, if you have, like, 3 damage weapons, that's, like, almost... Because Quantum Shield have to roll, what, the number of damage or less?
Yeah, and then you can, with a strat, you can make it even easier
+1.
Yeah, +1. And then I guess with this, the big sauce here too is this Veil of Darkness. He's gonna D3 at the start of the game, potentially get to like deep strike these Doomsday Arcs or Tesseract Bolts, right?
I don't remember if it's D3. I feel like it might be the holder and one other unit, but I could be wrong.
I think multiple units.
Yeah, I think they have.
Nice.
Plus, they have like 2 different ways of doing it. One of them is like picking up a unit. So one of them, he's also going to have the ability to pick up those 2 units of 6 Destroyers are no joke in and of themselves.
Yeah.
But that's a nasty and cool list, and I just like how elite it is, but also like redundant. I do like a lot of redundancy in a list myself. It feels thematic that way without necessarily being thematic, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, you know, it makes it feel like, oh, like, whether it's guard having, like, a tank battalion that's clearly, like, dedicated to a role or whatever, it focuses what your army does. I mean, it makes it seem like a more legitimate force, I think, in a lot of ways. I mean, you know, maybe it's one thing, some people get some weird feel bads when it's like, oh, like, I'm running, like, 3 knights. It's like, yeah, maybe that wouldn't happen as much, but, like, there are people that are genuine knight players, even if they aren't the most common gamer.
Yeah. I see Cap and Andrew out there giving us some orc shots. I hope that Luke, you got to see the Necron list there per your request. Thanks for asking. That major tournament ruled. And for anybody that's really curious, what's awesome is some of these battles we're talking about are actually all on film and in the Warp Charge Gaming just past videos. If you go to March 22nd was basically the time period, and if you just go back to our videos at that time, you can see Larry Oliver face the top Chaos player, which was
February, I think 22nd. Right?
Yeah, February 22nd. That was an awesome match. With a match with Larry versus the Triple Lord of Skull Chaos list is a dope one. You can just go check that. That final game was crazy. Nids versus Korn. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Cap and Andrew. Andrew was totally helping out with Coastal Wargaming, which is to talk about the major. That was you can't talk about that either major we have done without talking about Coastal Wargaming and the support that they bring, the partnership that we had together. I want to continue to make more events of awesome happen. They make such incredible terrain, have such a great crew with dedicated and just good-minded players. Battlegrounds just invested in frickin' 15 tables of Coastal Wargaming ITC official terrain, the same terrain that was at Nova Open from last year. More events in June? I don't know, Andrew. I don't know, man. We're kind of just playing it safe, playing it out. I think there's a lot of places that are reopening right now. And I think there's a lot of businesses that, if you're in the position that you're able to, are just gonna still look at the landscape and realize that there's probably gonna be a big potential, uptick in the virus and people getting sick and shit.
Tennessee does not give a fuck.
Yeah, herd immunity. Let's go. Maybe that's what's happening, but basically we're gonna see how dangerous it is or whatever. Like
there's a teams tournament here on like the 30th.
Really? Really? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm like, a teams event? Okay, let's really roll those dice.
Let's just stand right next to our buddies.
Wow, NashCon tickets just went on sale. What do you think, man? Would you go to that? I don't want to put you on the spot, Chris, but are you like, yeah, let me get up in there, or what?
I mean, I very much want to play.
Yeah.
If I have the time off, there's a good chance that I'll do it.
Yeah,
but,
fuck it, right? I'm young, fuck it, let's go. Just stay away from old people kind of thing. Jeez.
I mean, hey, I got like 6 face masks. I can even use my airbrushing respirator mask if I really need to.
There you go. There you go.
Throw on a red cloak. Now it's a AdMech costume. We're good to go.
I saw some DJs order some beehive outfits, man. That seemed pretty secure. They had this whole zip up fucking thing, you know. You don't want to get stung by the bees, so you don't want to get the corona getting in on you. So you just wear that's how you play 40K. You just wear the beehive outfits. What about the fencing outfits? Those are almost. You look cool.
Dude, why not the dinosaurs that were at Nova?
Yeah.
Get one of those suits.
Yeah.
Damn right.
I don't
would make moving models challenging.
I'm not heading down to Tennessee anytime fast, bro. I'm not jumping into these myself.
Listen, man, I don't explicitly blame you right now.
What's up, Big Cleat? Good to see you, man. He says checking in, saying what's up. We're just sitting here bullshitting, having a good time.
Man.
Big Cleat is the man. Having a good time, buddy. We're talking about how towards the end of the month, we're going to be setting up shop back inside of Battleground, still with the doors closed, keeping safe and trying to let the world play itself out until we kind of figure this shit out a little bit more clearly. But we are going to start filming again. Looking forward to that with people that are staying healthy and all that. I'm going to start giving temperatures and shit before people come in. Where them at?
I'm in a weird place with that too, though, just because there's a lot of lists that I want to run, especially most recently, that I could almost exclusively only run in Tabletop Sim.
Yeah.
But a lot of those lists also are a pain in the ass to play in Tabletop Sim because of all the ruin interactions.
But yo, Chris, you own all the Tyranids. How could you need more?
Because oddly enough, one of the things I don't have is 90 gargoyles. I have 40. Which is way more than most people, but I want to run 90.
Yeah, I feel ya. Well, but also with the help of Mike Van Dusky, man, Warp Charge Gamer Extraordinary, that guy has a bunch of Tyranids as well. Now, with you two combined,
you were not wrong.
You guys have as much. Honestly, what I would love to do just as like a way, like when you move back to Richmond, as a way to celebrate, we're gonna do a bunch of drugs. I mean, we're gonna hang out and have fun, and we're going to set up an apocalyptic Tyranid match with you guys on a team versus all the chaos. Because we have a shit ton of chaos on the wall at Battlegrounds, you know, the massive display of models. And there's a lot of Tyranids on that wall too, Chris. And I would love to just put all the chaos versus all the Tyranids, have a giant epic battle, would be great. The one thing I get jealous of, like I've seen some people do pictures of it and shit, when I've seen like them do, usually it's like Imperium versus Chaos or something of that nature, but they'll build a big giant fortress, or it'll be Tyranids, like endless horde of Tyranids versus the Marines or something, or Tau. But there'll be a big giant fortress, and there's just that endless horde mechanic of the Tyranids trying to attack a fortification like that. I'd love to set that up as well.
Yeah.
But I don't really like it. What I see in my mind, I don't really see I don't have a very cool fortification like, you know, those massive GW kits, those like castles and forts they make, they're crazy money, man. If you really want like the badass of the badass GW full-blown fortress kits, that shit's like mad cash.
Dude, the Khorne Age of Sigmar one, I think, like, I remember Scott from Dragonfire Games in Lynchburg, Virginia, he dropped like $400 plus, you know, on getting like a beautiful, like awesome giant Khorne fortress set up, and it's just like it's so much, man. Like it's an awesome set. It's great, you know, especially if you have the luxury of being able to fund it through your storage budget and get the item at cost. Like I'd say definitely do it, but for the average gamer, I mean that's a whole other army, you know, like.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. I'm reading the. Did you see Luke's comment there, Chris?
The Maliceptor.
Yeah, fellow Nid player.
Kind of would force him to deal with it up to 6 wounds getting hit. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's certainly true. I tend to shy away from the Maliceptor because he can be targeted, and he is toughness 8. But I find with a lot of the big bugs for Nids, a lot of them have 3 attacks and weapon skill 4, and that just is not attractive.
Not at all. Oh man, I get upset whenever a Dreadnought has that. I think a Chaplain Venerable Dread, it either has 4 base or 3 base. But I remember always wanting to just take the baseline Warlord trade to get +1 attack when you charge, just so he didn't suck.
Well, and to be fair, like that is one of the few creatures besides the Hive Tyrant that has like a good invul in the Tyranid Codex. But he costs more than a Hive Tyrant, and I generally I think what a lot of Tyranid players end up feeling is like, why would I run this if I could just run a Hive Tyrant?
I was pulling up a picture of him because I actually don't recall ever seeing him too often. He looks.
I think I've only used him in like APOC versus.
He's kind of like a counter kit to the Exocrine, right? You just like put the close combat.
The counter kit to the Toxicrene, which is also close combat. But it does look a lot like the Exocrine. And both of those creatures, unfortunately, you don't see very often in 8th edition at the moment.
Yeah, cool kits, you know, like the Exocrine is pretty much the closest to this profile that you get to see from the Tyranid side, you know?
Yeah. No, it's a really cool kit. And I was hoping for a little bit more, but you know, we'll definitely see.
It's kind of that same type of size and profile as the Mauler Fiend, and I've been enjoying running those, but those also, like the Forge Fiend, Mauler Fiend for Chaos, also aren't too much of a hot stuff. The Soul Grinder, like make Soul Grinders great. I'm gonna bring up a picture of that.
Please make them great again.
Right, exactly.
One of my favorite models.
The Mauler Fiend is very much like the Tyranid, the same kind of profile, but just again, something you don't see on the table too much, but I've been running them and having fun. I like it when people take these models that don't get to hit the table very much and try their best to make a functional list, or at least the cool factor of like a bunch of redundancy. That's a badass one. I don't know if you see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, Vandesky and I were talking, and you know, like one of the big issues you see with the main reason that a lot of Tyranid creatures don't see the front lines. There's very few ways to buff things in the Tyranid book. Like, the only real +1 to hit is the Broodlord to Gene Stealers or the Warrior Prime to Warriors. There's also reroll 1s for Psychic Test for Zone Ropes, I guess. But, like, on a lot of the stuff that needs it, like, that's one of the cool things. Like, I was super happy to see the Mauler Fiend come back into action with, with some of the vehicle buffs, like Disco Lords and Slanesh Assaulting. Yeah. That gives them a little bit more play. Yeah.
Yeah, the 4-up weapon skill is really, for me, the Mauler Fiends. That's what really makes them take a seat on the shelf. The 3-up helps a lot. The movement and toughness and the amount of attacks they get. There's a lot to be enjoyed, but that 4-up weapon skill really fucking puts a damper on things sometimes. I see you guys raging in the comments there. Excellent.
Well, and that's actually, like, Kevin's mentioning that strat, like, that actually stacks kind of impressively with, like, there is some tech that you can do since Ball with bugs. Like, you can use a stratagem off the Maliceptor to give a bubble of -1 strength in the shooting phase, also -1 to be hit through the Malanthrope or Venomthropes. Warriors have a stratagem in Ball where they can reduce damage incoming by 1, so it's -1 damage. There's stuff you can do, but I think Kevin actually kind of hit the nail on the head with what I think is one of the most effective things. It's not -1 to wound, which would have been way better, but -1 strength is definitely saucy on incoming shooting.
Oh, -1 to wound would gross me out, dude. You don't see that too often at all.
Oh,
yeah, Harlequins have it, but outside of that, there's not a lot of things that have it.
Yeah, it makes me like kind of clench or like feel gross.
That's one thing that made me sad against my last game with Connor is the Swarm Lord does mortal wounds in addition to damage on wound rolls of 6, but Connor had a -1 on all of his squads, and basically I was like, no, I can't deal any mortals to you with your 4-up invulns.
Right as he said that, Connor gives a like on this. We just got a notification. Nice, Connor. I just saw Connor just played somebody on TTS with a NID list that he took down as well. So he said somebody in his league, and I was intrigued to say that Connor mentioned they were also running a bunch of Zoanthropes. Which it's just interesting that it seems to be like a trend amongst the Tyranid players I know, you and Mike, and now this person, for instance. And obviously the Space Wolves don't care. Just the Space Wolves don't care. I'm playing Mike tomorrow, by the way. Gonna get him integrated into Tabletop Simulator, which again, me and James, we gotta try that again, dude. That was crazy. I don't want to talk too much about it, especially since I don't know too much about it,
dude.
But I guess that maybe, James, when we were trying to get you set up, we were trying to get you set up on these maps that got corrupted by the designer because he was he was in a tiff. He was in a big there was a big huffy to do on Tabletop Simulator with this one particular community member. I don't know too much about it, but I know that there was some general message that had to get posted to be like, hey, we booted this guy and he might have corrupted his files, but don't worry, you're not getting hacked. And but anyways, I know that when me and James tried to get him integrated with Tabletop, it was acting very crazy, and I was in one of those old maps of this that was being talked about, and trying to get James by just happenstance, like, yeah, go get this map that definitely works for me. Oh, it just happens to be the one that got corrupted about this time from this guy being crazy online. So we're gonna have to try again, James. I want to get you up and going so you can get your tabletop on. It sounds like you've been getting some with the homies Kevin and Simon, though. You've been getting some games going on around the crib.
I haven't, but they have.
Yeah.
I have no desire to play.
Yeah, not feeling it right now.
Yeah, with a really shitty army and the way things are going, dude.
Yeah.
Not that cool.
Do you think that the new like Psychic Awakening Demons book is hopeful to kind of resurge some inspiration?
No.
Yeah? No, is it that bad?
He's keeping his expectations low, which I think is healthy, but I hope it blows him out of the water.
There is zero expectations, bro. There's not like keeping them low. There is none. Yeah, dude. Just my playstyle is not like indicative to like selling the game. So with IPC doing the non-Cs, people deploy in a manner now that makes it even harder.
Right, that's true.
Like that.
But man, if you get to go first, though, woo!
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like after multiple games now, when you get to go first and your opponent gets to basically pick their deployment and then counter deploy for a combat army, it is still an uphill battle.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you think that's more of a corn thing because, like, I'm loving.
I definitely, it's the corn thing.
Yeah,
they don't have the rules.
It's mainly 5-up invuln versus say a 3-up invuln, right?
5-up invul versus 3-up invul, or no invul at all, and no mechanics to get into combat.
Yeah.
Besides an extra 9 inches before the game begins, which.
Yeah, because the Space Wolves are walking right up there, but they got that 3-up invul, and they're putting out some crazy. They got crazy, like when we just like when the episode where I broke down a lot of the Space Wolves rules, James was like, man, threw his hands up, and I could totally understand because it's bullshit that one, as a Space Wolf player, the amount of rules that we have now that we didn't have before, and for 2 years just getting our ass handed with like now there's these like godlike rules that are just basically free with a fucking flick of a pen, and sitting still on the sidelines of the diehard people, like you want your friends to enjoy playing the game. You want to enjoy playing the game. I don't want to fucking roll over somebody because my rules are just written more up to date than theirs are. You know, that's like the game is in a rough. I can get dark as the darkness that you kind of describe now of like not giving kind of a shit when the game seems kind of like a lack of care in the balance and that every player feels good about their position in the game and not
I have zero
weighted
desire to play at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even in this when people like are like fiending to play. I do not give a shit. And I'm not even whining about my army. It's the fact that as rule writers, they don't think of players like myself that focus in on one god and how it used to be for 7. It's more or less like, oh, well, I could take from chaos and I can make great chaos lists. But by pigeonholing myself on my own behalf of saying I want to play pure corn and have the corn be my keyword that holds my army together,
right?
I now have not a good army because the rules that are given for chaos to make chaos good are not available to me. And if they give me those rules, now they're making chaos in general pretty much overpowered.
And that comes from a bloat, if you will. You know, it's bloated because at first the initial like mantra of the game was that you can, in 8th edition, you can play 40k the way you want, and you can bring anything. You know, based on the detachment system and everything, you can bring whatever you want, and it has if it's valid that anything can hurt anything. It used to be back in 7th, you know, certain weapons couldn't actually hurt a certain value. But you know, as it got more and more bloated, you can't necessarily bring whatever you want. If you want to be competitive, and you have to continue to evolve with the amount of bloated additional rules that they give you, because it seems like whenever you go to how do you build a competitive this, that, or the other list, it involves many different books, many different little sub-factions going together. And the person that wants to really have a good time and still play competitively while representing one pure theme is not rewarded inside this game system, even though they let it on to be. You know, and that's where it's just tongue-in-cheek bullshit to act like they made a game that's so airtight that you can actually represent one pure faction, unless you're playing fucking Necrons or playing fucking Tau or playing fucking Orcs.
That's exactly where it's at. If you pick something that has too many friends, you now either have to play with all your friends in that manner, or you pick a completely different army.
Yeah.
And I just have zero desire to give them my money right now. You know what I mean?
Oh, I get that. Yeah. Oh, and that's where again, I'm a preacher for it's been extremely healthy to get into other games and have it, even especially outside. For the only time I've ever done it was the Corvus Belli Infinity was the only time I jumped outside the game workshop umbrella. But even like it's funny because the Shadespire Warhammer Underworld like methodology of selling, or say the Age of Sigmar Champions card game, that methodology of like boosters and shit and like random obtaining, comparatively to say Warcry or Kill Team, and the way that those are like buy once be done. It's interesting to look at the way the different games are. And it's just like we talked about before on the channel with the iOS games and whatnot, where they have the kind of that pay-to-play mechanic, and there's the games where you're building your base and like time you got to wait 24 hours before this building gets done, but you can expedite it with gold and shit. There's all these different like marketing ways that what decides a game's quality.
None of those work for me. That just makes me immediately hate a game.
Me too.
See, like, since this whole quarantine thing, video games been have like more of a presence for everyone. I feel like that loves gaming.
Right.
And my son's about to turn 5, and I haven't bought a game system since PlayStation 3. So I've been looking for Switches, and like they're all sold out, overpriced, like $100 over retail right now. So I pulled out my old Raspberry Pi 2 chip, updated it with some other ROMs, reformatted it with new controllers, and I've been playing like Super Nintendo, Game Boy Color, Sega, like shit like that.
Sega.
Dude, I've just been dominating that. I don't need internet. I don't need shit. And like, I don't need cheat codes. I don't need nothing. And I'm just loving it, dude. Like, that's where I'm at right now. Is like, these are quality games. They don't ask me to buy anything. They don't change the rules. It's just a solid game through and through.
Yeah, hey, I can respect it. I can understand it. I've been going through weird psychologies with gaming, as far as like, I've mentioned on a couple weeks past of trying to play like some blockbuster top tier video games, just being like, no, this isn't, I didn't feel right. And like trying to be all like dexterous, like training my fingers, like almost like I'm like learning how to play a guitar or something. I was like, I could literally be training myself how to play a piano or something right now, but I'm trying to master how to parkour in this zombie game. And I'm just like, I don't fucking care about that. I want to like use my mind and be strategic, and like I like the math and statistics and thinking out the possibilities and trying to look ahead. I like strategy, right, and tactics. And I found that this like just being good at like pointing at something really fast and having good aim and a point and shoot game or something like that was not what gets me off anymore. And I was immediately back to like Warhammer Underworlds and playing that virtually, or playing Tabletop Simulator, or going back to just a baseline iPad game. I've been loving playing just the Legion card game on fucking the iPad.
Dude, I love that game, honestly.
It's fucking great.
I still play that a lot.
Oh, they're good. Speaking of which, there's got to be a lot of people that watch this show that play that game. But Legion, you should play it, James. Legion, the Warhammer Horus Heresy card game. It's excellent, and it used to be a real thing. It's great though. It is such a great way. It's so surprisingly good at not being pay to play. I'm impressed by it. I haven't put a dime into it.
But I mean, I do enjoy a non-pay-to-play game. Like, you might almost get my support just on that.
I'm amazed. That's why it's such a great game, and why I play to this day, is how balanced it does feel that you're not being pushed to, if I don't buy this shit, I'm not good.
Dude, I've been looking to maybe get a new RetroPie 4 chip, because they have that new chip that just came out. And I'm talking about N64, PlayStation, like GameCube games.
Dude, the one like nostalgia-wise, the games that I mean, obviously 007 GoldenEye, but
dude, of course, that's what I'm talking about.
Perfect Dark, though, man, I love the shit out of Perfect Dark.
That's another great one
with the fucking laptop gun.
Yeah, and then there's Time Crisis. That's another fantastic one.
Yeah, and then Gauntlet.
That's where I'm at right now, bro.
Legends. You remember that? Gauntlet Legends.
Fuck yeah!
I played that with my homies. I remember Mountain Dew, fucking late nights.
so that's where I'm at, George. I'm about to make a new fucking little RetroPie system with a new chip.
Okay.
Of all those old games.
Yeah.
And that's where my mind's at as far as gaming until GW gets their shit together.
Okay. You still got you got that little Thunderbolt capture card there, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should plug that fucking Super Nintendo or that fucking Raspberry into that bitch and stream some of that old school, dude. I'd love to see James playing old school games, just like fucking yelling and cussing at the screen while you play some old school Nintendo shit.
I'd have to figure that out, but definitely would do that.
All right, I'll help you set that up.
Yeah, but I haven't painted in like 2-3 weeks. But as soon as I start painting again, I'm gonna finish my Blood Bowl. Plan on playing that. And between that and old school retro games, dude, I think that'll keep me like content until GW fixes their shit.
Yeah,
because I keep hearing more and more about 9th edition, and with all these Psychic Awakening books and rule bloat, I mean, it's almost like they need to figure out a new system because I know they want to sell books and rules, but man, they fuck up their own game.
I tell you, man. But they have so many other different games with so many different like buying mechanics or marketing mechanics that it's like they almost don't care. They're like, cool, go buy fucking. We're just gonna get them to go play fucking Titanticus or goddamn or Battlefleet Gothic 3.0 or go play Ariad, the goddamn fucking airplane game, or go play Speed Freaks or whatever the fuck, you know.
Blackstone Fortress.
Yeah, exactly.
That's if you have no friends, Chris. I got friends, dude. They're coming over and play games just without me.
Oh, shit. Yo, I gotta show off, guys, that we've been talking over the last couple weeks. Something that I was proud of. That, you know, one, I quit. I'm like 60 days plus this entire quarantine, no cigarettes, right? Totally off. And some of that crazy head energy has gone into. I don't know how I had this like light bulb go off my head, but I think it was because, you know, every dollar counts when you're a starving artist.
All right, are you about to get into a sushi rant right now?
I'm about to get into a quick sushi rant, dude.
All right, I felt it, dude.
Yeah. Like starving artist here, you know, every dollar counts and trying to like fucking make sure that I can afford bottom line life. And I'm sick of eating bullshit, dude. I'm like living on like 4 microwave dinners maybe a day, two per meal, right? Maybe at like 10 o'clock at night. I'm talking like some double meatloaf, macaroni, cheese. I'm talking about like a fucking burrito, whatever the fuck I can find in that refrigerator, I'm gonna eat it. But like my meals were two moves, dude. It has to go in and out. That's the only 2 instructions I was down with. Okay, that's not good living, friends. And so being quarantined, usually I would just smoke a bunch of cigarettes, drink a bunch of coffee and energy drinks, and play a bunch of games at Battlegrounds, and I wouldn't think about eating until I get home at like midnight and I'd be like, all right, 12 hours of gaming, let me shove some burritos in the face, call it a day, you know. But now I've been stuck at home, and I was like, I gotta do better than that, man. And I'm sick of putting my money into shit that's not helping me out. And I was like, what's my favorite food, right? Favorite food, sushi, dude. Why do I eat sushi only on like my birthday? Like once a year? This is bullshit. I felt like so stupid that I was like, you know, that there's all this best food to eat. You can eat your favorite thing, but you don't. And I'm like, you know, I'm sick of this shit. So I studied the fuck out of it, and I made some sushi, dude. And I ate sushi 7 days in a row, and here's some pictures. Here's me eating sushi outside, motherfuckers. This is teriyaki chicken sushi. Shit was dank as fuck. And then right here,
you're killing me,
dude. Yesterday, I made the most awesome. I was like, I need some inspiration. Did some quick googling. I made fucking bacon and smoked salmon, jalapeno, fucking onion, cream cheese, cucumber, fucking sushi, dude. Wow, that shit was dank, dude. Jalapeno bacon salmon sushi. Come on, and it's so cheap. It's so fucking cheap. Every time now we did some Grubhub ordering, and I was like, I'm getting ripped the fuck off, dude. I can buy
Oh yeah, man.
Oh my god.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I can tell you, the turnaround on stuff like sushi or like Mexican food or anything. I mean, dude, like they are making a pretty penny off of you.
Dude, I'm making like fat, dank ass fucking sushi rolls for like $2 a roll. That they'd be charging like $8, $10 a plate and shit. I'm like, what? Been getting ripped off, son. And now I'm eating my favorite food almost every fucking day, and it's pretty awesome, guys. Pretty awesome.
It's like how Ethiopian food gets sold at a premium for being exotic, and it's like, yep, it's a lot of rice.
It's hilarious though, because like literally my entire life I've never made anything. Because I don't give a fuck. I was like, feed the machine, don't care, you know. And I'm like, I'm getting older, whatever. But you know, obviously, my wife for the last 12 years or whatever, she's been putting up with that same lifestyle from me. And so now I'm getting like mad brownie points because I'm getting I'm like, guess who's making dinner? Yeah, that never happens ever, right? And I'm like laying out these. So that's the trick, boys. If you've never made any food for your lady, just learn one really dank thing. And dude, sushi's easy, dude. Just get that fucking rice cooker, you're in, man.
Bro.
Yeah.
That's super motivational and positive, and I think it's a great note to end off because we actually ended with extra time, past the hour. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good. It was good. I had a good time. We did better than episode 99, 98, 97.
That episode was great.
It was probably better than the last 4 episodes. Maybe the entire 90s.
The 90s.
Yeah.
Fuck the 90s, bro.
Not our best decade.
We're on the upswing. Episode 100, episode 101 is going to be super dope. I hope you guys join us next week. I'm going to
Eventually we'll be quarantine free.
Yeah, games are going to get played. Topics, we'll talk about things and things are going to matter. It's going to be cool. But I appreciate everybody that hung out this far. Good to see everybody. Keep taking fun serious and we'll see you next time.
Doses.
Peace.